Hi, I'm Jeffrey Suey. I run JTS Advisors, and my team coaches internationally throughout the U.S. and Canada. Welcome to the Online Video Coaches Training. This first video shows you my secret weapon that's played a major part in my going from literally living in a trailer broke to having a growing coaching business that makes over $30,000 a month. It's something that you can put to work for you starting today. Now, I don't know if you're a coach, manager, business owner, or you would like to become a coach. This video is actually one part of a training series that I'm going to release over the next few weeks to teach you how to coach. So let's get right to that magic bullet. This is called the Jolt Technique. Now, first of all, why use this technique? You know, people talk about their problems, talk about the things they want to change or do. They don't usually take any real actions that are going to change things for them. And so the Jolt Technique is meant to do anything but that. It's meant to really interrupt the whole habitual pattern of your client. There's actually a couple steps to this technique, and the first one, I like to call this the Me Too part. And it's really a matter of building rapport with your client. You have to have rapport before you go in and jolt your client a little bit. You can't just jump in and jolt your client and expect them to change. They're not going to like that very much. You have to have some rapport. You have to have a relationship first. So your client might be sharing a little bit about their problem, and you want to listen. You want to listen as much as you can during this section of the technique. And then you want to compliment them. You want to commend them for something. You want to acknowledge them. So you might say something like, you know, Sally, I really want to acknowledge you and commend you for your honesty in this area, because, you know, most people aren't even honest about what their challenges and problems really are. And with honesty, you can do so much. You can do anything. Let me ask you a question. What has allowed you to be so honest about this, to have so much strength when it comes to this very challenging problem for you? Now, what did I just do? I did 3 little steps in that little compliment. First of all, I stated what I appreciated, her honesty, and then I used the word because, which is really key. You want to use the word because. And I justified why I was actually complimenting her. That because most people aren't that honest. You want to make sure you use that word. And then I asked her a question about what I was complimenting her on. That shows a level of interest. And when you do this, you're going to have a deep level of rapport, and you're going to have an identification, what we call a Me Too, with your client. Then the next section of the Jolt Technique is the honesty portion. You really need to tell them whatever it is that's on your mind, whatever you're really thinking. You want to use the very same words that are going through your head, and you don't want to edit anything here. You want to be really straight. So in this section, I might say something like, you know, Sally, you know, as I said before, I really commended you for your honesty. There's a couple things that I see. First of all, your life's a mess, and you're treating your family really badly. You're kind of being a jerk to them, really. And beyond that also, there's so many things that you could do to make some changes in your business, and you're not doing anything. I mean, it really looks to me like you're just being lazy. Now, during this section, you're going to say some things that most people wouldn't want to hear, probably. So you've created rapport in the first section. Now you're kind of breaking rapport in this honesty section. You're telling them honestly exactly what you see. And that's part of the jolt. You're giving them an intense enough jolt to start to jar them from their habitual pattern. This is very counterintuitive. You're going to say some things during this part of the technique that you would never want to say to somebody. Or you'll try to soften, you'll try to edit, you'll try to make it a little friendlier. You don't want to do that. This ends with the intense jolt. You want to wrap up the statement with whatever it is that you could say that has the most teeth, that's the most challenging statement. And so maybe I might wrap this statement up with, you know, Sally, it really seems like you're a lazy jerk that's just thinking about herself. So something like that's going to start to jolt somebody out of their habitual patterns. And they're usually all ears because they're thinking now, wait a second, this is something new. I haven't heard anyone say this to me before. I might need to listen closely. That's getting a really key response from your client. Now let's go to step 3 in the Jolt Technique, and that's what I call pain and pleasure. Now that you've jolted them, they're listening, but that doesn't mean they're going to change anything. Now you've just got their attention. You want to get back in rapport a little bit, and you need to help them to associate massive pain to staying where they are, massive pain to keeping things the same. and massive pleasure to making whatever change that they probably know they need to make, but you definitely know they need to make that change as well. The best and most powerful way to use this during Jolt Technique, now that you've kind of jolted them, is start asking them some questions again. Open it up. And so you might ask Sally some questions like, let me ask you this, Sally. How did it feel to know that things aren't going well with your family? How does it feel to know that you're not making any money in your business? And how would it feel if this kept going the way it's been going? How would it feel if this kept going for a year? If it got worse, if you don't change anything, how will it be in 5 years? Where will you be? Where will you be financially, in your relationships? Where will you be in terms of how you feel about yourself? And you want to listen for the emotions. If they just say, it'd be bad, you want to help them to amplify those emotions. You want to help them, well, would it be bad, or would you feel really depressed? Would you be resentful? Would you be frustrated? Would you be angry? I mean, really, honestly, tell me, how would you really feel? And have them really imagine those feelings, feel them, and share them with you. Then you want to take them into the pleasure. You want to say, look, if you change this, and you stepped up, you started really taking care of your family, and you started really, getting off your butt and doing the work you got to do, and you started doing that for, let's say, a couple of months, even if you didn't get a lot of results, how would you feel? Would you feel more proud? Would you feel more confident? What about after a year, when you start getting some results with this, how would you feel then? What about after 5 years? Where would you be? Where would you be financially? Where would you be with your family? How would that feel? Would you feel happy? Would you feel fulfilled? Would you feel grateful? How would you feel? And as they share that with you, they're going to start to associate, again, pain to not changing, pleasure to changing, and that's going to start creating that change. If you can get them deeply feeling a lot of pain about not changing and a lot of pleasure about changing, then they're ready to go to the final step in this Jolt technique. And that's simply right when you got them where you want them, so to speak, because now they're feeling the motivation to make the change, you want to immediately have them commit to an action. Get them to commit to one major action, or maybe a couple major actions that they're going to take as soon as they hang up the phone with you, or as soon as they leave your office, if it's a face-to-face session. And have them write those down. You'll write them down as well, so you can hold them accountable later, and then they need to go take those actions immediately. So I want to review this Jolt technique with you one more time. So the first step is that rapport step, the Me Too step. The second step, honesty in the intense jolt. The third step is that pain and pleasure piece. Get them to associate pain to not changing, pleasure to changing. And finally, the action step. Get them into action, have them going out there and doing something about the motivation that they've gotten from that session.